Has a Louis got a bishop on deck. See what I'm saying? Has a Louis got a bishop on deck. Has a Louis got a bishop on deck.
Has a Louis, see my bishop on deck. All rise on your feet, show respect. All these damn dogs getting checked. Hey, see what I'm saying? Hey, shout him out.
Tuesday.
Shout him out.
Tuesday.
Put in work, reach the people, see my bishop, he don't play. Shout him out.
Tuesday.
Shout him out.
Tuesday.
Put in work, reach the people, see my bishop, he don't play. Shout him out.
Tuesday.
Shout him out.
Tuesday.
Put in work, reach the people, see my bishop, he don't play. Shout him out.
Tuesday.
Shout him out.
Tuesday.
Put in work, reach the people, see my bishop, he don't play.
Has a Louis got a bishop on deck. On deck. Has a Louis got a bishop on deck.
See what I'm saying?
Has a Louis got a bishop on deck.
The Image of the Black in Western Art, Volume 2. This was published by Harvard. Okay. Harvard University Press in England. This book goes into heraldry, which is the coats and arms of kings, queens, knights, rulers, bishops. As you can see, these are black images during the Middle Ages. Okay? Black rulers. All right, let's go on. Here's some more. These are things they don't show you in school. They teach black history starting with slavery, from more or less around 1619, all the way from there, or not all the way, but from there. Never going before that, where these images, like we're showing here, let's take a look at what year is that? 1316. Okay, 1316. Some of them even at 1276. Because we were ruling during that time period. All right, take a look. Take a look. And where is this? This is number 5. Let me zoom in a little closer. 5. Memorial bearings of Cologne, the holy kings, the bishop and his vassals. Okay, that's what number 5 is. What you're looking at here. Okay. All right. Here's, you see Spain there. All right. I want you to look at the borders of Africa. There's Arabia. Let me just come in closer. All right. There's Somaliland. This is the Horn of Africa. Ethiopia, called Abyssinia at this time. I want you to notice where they got the Jews located at. There's the Falashas there. Look over here, Yemen Jews. That's in Arabia. But I want to focus on Africa. All right. Taliban Jews. A pre-exilic Yahwism. That's for those that followed Yahweh. All right. Let's move over. Let's move over. I'm going to go down to the bottom. Look. Loando Jews. This is on the coast of Africa. All right. Mavumbu Jews. Look. This is what I was just showing you in the other books. San Tome Jews. Remember the Jews were cast out of Spain and sent to San Tome or St. Thomas. That's that island right there. All right. Look, Levite cities. Where? Amongst the houses. You know, a lot of you Nigerians, you hate the houses. There's Cameroons. Levite cities over here. This is Nigeria. See? Nigeria. Nigeria. You got Levite cities there. Houses. Levite cities. Levite cities. Beni Ephraim. Sons of Ephraim. Beni means, or Benai means sons of Ephraim. Okay? Dahomey Jews. Jewish traces all amongst the Ashanti. Judeo-paganism. So these Israelites here were following pagan customs around Cape Verde and Senegambia. The Lamlam, once a Jewish colony. Timbuktu. Let's go around here. Medieval Jewish kingdom. Jewish kingdom of Granada. The horrors of the Arabian connection. The slave trade based on Zanzibar, which handled up to 20,000 slaves a year in the 1870s, was fed by the slave trade in the interior of East Africa. Now, y'all can read the rest on your own. I'm just showing you how the history on how evil the Arabs have treated our people, the Israelites. Do y'all see this? An Arab slave caravan on its way to the coast. Oh, there's babies in these baskets. Do y'all see the little babies crying for their mothers? Useless property, exhausted slaves collapse within sight of a waterhole, and a slave trader prepares to deliver the coup de grace to an exhausted slave. These are the exhausted slaves. And let's see what the slave trader, an Arab, is about to do. About to blow his brains out because he's exhausted. Notice the yokes of iron on his arms. The tree of death. The cruelties of the Arab slave trade reflected in part the cruelties of the rulers with whom the traders dealt. The account of an execution in the 1880s was told by a slave in Zinder, Niger. The Sarki of Zinder is a cruel man and much feared by his subjects. For the least offense, he sentences people to death. When a criminal is to be killed, he is taken by the executioner to an open place underneath a lofty tree called, I can't pronounce that, which means the tree of death. It was bounded by great rocks wherein the hyenas had their dens and could eat the bodies of the people executed. Its upper branches were covered with innumerable vultures. There were 6 men this time to be killed. The last of these men, when the executioner was wrestling with him, bit him several times in the arm so that he took out pieces of flesh with his teeth. And this so enraged the executioner that he drew the rope through the man's armpits and then slung him up to the tree. And when he was thus hung up perpendicularly and swinging to and fro and turning round, the executioner took his sharp sword and slowly cut the man
to bits and little pieces. Here's the tree.
All right, that was some good stuff, if I do say so myself. Now, my question is, what about the Afro-Palestinian that's in Gaza, the Afro-Palestinian that's in the West Bank, the Afro-Palestinian that's in Syria, Damascus, Egypt? What about the Afro-Palestinians lost in the Arab-Israeli wars? What about them? Anybody ever think about them? Nobody talks about the black people because nobody gives a damn about black people. Very few. I'll say it like that. Very few. So what we're going to do right now is just take a look at the Afro-Palestinians, our people, scattered there during the time of slavery. And I'll be right back with my biblical commentary, all right?
Palestinians are racist to black people. And if you look around, it's black people that are out there advocating for the rights of Palestinians. This should be a lesson for Palestinians and the Arab community in general to stop being racist towards black people.
Palestinians are Arabs. Saying, have you ever heard about the Arab slave trade? Go and look it up. Go and read up on the Arab slave trade and see how brutal they were to black people. See me? We're not gonna further. All me I say is, we not take no side with none of them post soldier. Make them kill off them bumbucklad self.
So there is a neighborhood in Gaza, on the Gaza Strip, where 11,000 Afro-Palestinians live. It is called Al Abib. You know what that means? Slave. Yes, that is where black people live, and that is what the Arabics call that neighborhood, slaves, the land of the slaves.
To understand what it's like to be black in Palestine, one must grasp, first, the historical backdrop that shapes this narrative. Being black in Palestine is a journey through intersecting histories, cultures, and struggles. It is a narrative that resonates with the echoes of the global black diaspora as individuals find themselves navigating a space where their identity intersects with the challenges of occupation, displacement, and the quest for self-determination in the heart of the Middle East. Historically, Palestine has been a melting pot of cultures, religions, and ethnicities. Against this backdrop, the black experience therein is both unique and shared. The echoes of African heritage in the region, intertwined with the struggles of the Palestinian people, create a dynamic and multifaceted identity. From the Nubian presence in ancient times to the contemporary African diaspora in places like Jericho, the black experience is embedded in the historical fabric of the land. Yet, the complexity of being black in Palestine extends beyond historical roots. Rather, it intertwines with the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict, where racial dynamics become entangled with political realities. Black Palestinians, much like their counterparts in other parts of the world, face the challenges of systemic discrimination, unequal access to resources, and a struggle for recognition. This, sadly, is what it is. Today, we are taking a dive at what it's like to be black in Palestine. We are also visiting briefly the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in relation to the discrimination suffered by peoples of color in Palestine and all over the globe at large. Before we continue, don't forget to support our persistent efforts to fill you in by pressing the like button before you, share with your family and friends to keep spreading our eye-opening black narrative, and kindly subscribe to keep the channel growing. Your support is immensely valued. Now back to the basics. Beginning from recent times, there is pandemonium, the bloodiness oozing across the entire globe as another Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been hatched for quite some time recently, since the month of October, and is now at its outrageous peak. This time, more than 10,000 people have been killed in just 31 days of relentless Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip, according to Palestinian health officials, with no signs of a ceasefire in the besieged enclave. Thousands of Palestinians have left northern Gaza on foot, waving white flags and moving southwards in search of refuge that has become increasingly elusive as Israel pounds the entire enclave with airstrikes. Everywhere is in the strangest, bloodiest disarray.
And yet, as heartbreaking as the news is right now, and it is heartbreaking, as we speak, the world feels more unstable and more dangerous than it has in a very long time. And of course, over the last few weeks, we have watched a deadly struggle unfold in the Middle East, triggered by the horrific murder of more than 1,400 mostly civilian Israelis, many of them children, at the hands of Hamas, as well as the abduction of over 200 hostages. And then an Israeli response that has so far resulted in the displacement of well over 1 million people, the death of at least 9,000 Palestinian civilians, thousands of them also children, the cutoff of water, food, electricity to a captive population that risks creating an even greater humanitarian crisis. It is hard to feel hopeful. The images of families mourning, of bodies being pulled from rubble, force a moral reckoning on all of us.
The United Nations said on Wednesday that 15,000 Palestinians had fled northern Gaza the day before, using the main traffic artery, Salah al-Din Road. This was 3 times the figure estimated on Monday. The Israeli military had given residents of northern Gaza a 4-hour window to leave on Wednesday. Thousands of people are seen moving south, not car convoys. They're walking and waving white flags in fear of being attacked. They're moving together in large groups, believing there could still be some safety in numbers, in a desperate journey south to a future they have no idea what it holds. Palestinians say that no corner of the Strip is safe from Israeli bombardment. More than 70% of Gaza's 2.3 million residents have been utterly displaced. The majority, including children, the elderly and people with disabilities, have fled with minimal belongings. Some reported having to cross Israeli checkpoints to reach the southern areas and witnessing arrests by Israeli forces. In a statement on Monday, Gaza's Ministry of Health said the death toll has risen to at least over 10,400 Palestinians and counting, including over 4,300 children. With many victims still trapped beneath the rubble and an Israeli siege drying up access to vital goods like fuel, food, and electricity. And what could have possibly brought about this insane devastation in the cities of Palestine? The war, it was said, broke out on the 7th October when Hamas launched attacks on southern Israel that authorities there said killed more than 1,400 people. Hamas militants had stormed into Israel on a Saturday morning, 7th October 2023, slaying hundreds of residents in homes and streets near the Gaza border and bringing gun battles to Israeli towns for the first time in decades. Hamas and other militant groups in Gaza made away with about 150 soldiers and civilians whom they're currently holding hostage, according to Israel. Israel had stepped up its offensive on a Tuesday, October 10th, 2023, expanding the mobilization of reservists to 360,000. Israel's military said it had regained effective control over areas Hamas attacked in its south and of the Gaza border. The displacement in Gaza, where the majority of the population are refugees with parents or grandparents who were forcibly expelled from their homes and barred from returning during the founding of Israel in 1948, have reignited a painful sense of déjà vu. We cannot find food, and there is no flour. People are waiting in long queues for water. Moamen al-Arja, a mother sheltering in southern Gaza, told Al Jazeera. In a split second, Gaza has been turned into a black box. The only light in the Gaza Strip at night will be from fires started by Israeli bombs and a handful of hospitals powered by sputtering generators. The territory's last functioning power plant ran out of fuel on Wednesday, 2 days after the Israeli defense minister announced that there would be a complete blockade during the siege. No water, no food, no electricity.
Wow. Wowza, wowza, wowza. Or is it yowza, yowza, yowza? I forgot how it used to go. Anyway, that was some good and interesting stuff, if I do say so myself, and I will. So now, how did the Palestinians get there? Throughout Palestine, throughout the West Bank. Well, a large majority of them came there during the sub-Saharan slave trade. That's right, during the sub-Saharan slave trade, right after the time or during the time of Muhammad, the so-called prophet Muhammad, that's right, who enslaved black people, the children of Israel, left and right, the Jews, the real Jews, who did not want to submit to his new religion. All right. So let's open up with Deuteronomy 28 with the prophecies, as we generally do. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. This is us making our exodus from Egypt on our way to Canaan, the land of Canaan. That's where we're on our way to. We're in the wilderness right now. All right. And the Lord gave Moses, the black man Moses, a message to give to the children of Israel. Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. This is him speaking. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So what we're going to do now is read just a few curses, which will help identify the children of Israel, which will help identify the Afro-Palestinians as part of the children of Israel. Let's jump down to verse 32. And it reads, Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. So just for today, in today's lesson, the question is, were our sons and daughters taken from the continent of Africa and taken during the sub-Saharan slave trade and made slaves to the Arab nations? Were our sons and daughters given to the Arabs? Yes, the answer is yes. When you examine the sub-Saharan slave trade or the Saharan slave trade or the Islam, whatever, there's several terminologies. Sub-Saharan slave trade, Indian Ocean slave trade, Islamic slave trade. You got those several ones that are more common. So let's read that again. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Our sons and daughters were given to the Arabs. And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. When our sons and daughters were taken from us, they were taken to places like Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, India, Iran, Iraq, Turkey. That's right. That's with the Muslims. This is during the time of Islam, the reign of Islam. Okay, let's read on. And there shall be no might in thine hand. We had no might to get our sons and daughters back, no military might to get our sons and daughters back. We had no economic might to get our sons and daughters back. We had no political might to get our sons and daughters back. Let's jump down to verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. What's a proverb? A funny and a humorous saying, okay? Like they call us, the Arabs call our people abd, which means slave. In Palestine, they got a street called Al-Abd, which means the slave street. That's in Palestine, okay? And what's a byword? A byword is being called outside of your God-given name. God calls us Israel, the children of Israel. But what do they call us over there? They call us Afro-Palestinians. Afro-Palestinians. That's right. That's right. It says, among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. In Turkey, what do they call us? Afro-Turkeys. In Iraq, they call us Afro-Iraqis. Iran, Afro-Iranians. Okay. Remember, here in America, they called us Afro-Americans until we wanted it changed. Now they call us African-American or Black Americans. You can't make this stuff up. Let's jump down to verse 64. It reads, And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So under the European slave trade or Caucasian slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, how about that? We worshipped a wood god, the wooden cross of white Jesus, the wood cross of white Jesus. And prior to that, and even longer than that, under Islam, from the time of Muhammad, around 620 AD, all the way up to 2023, we worshipped the stone, the Kaaba stone, okay, which is in Mecca, which Mecca was the largest slave market on the planet Earth, filled with the blood of our ancestors, Mecca. You've got to be kidding me. Okay, talking about Mecca is holy. Are you insane? Let's go from there. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy 32, and let's read verse 26. It reads, I said I would scatter them into corners, meaning the four corners of the earth we were scattered to. I would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. Does anyone remember that we're the children of Israel? No, we've become a lost people. That's why they call us Afro-Palestinian, Afro-Iranians, Afro-Iraqis. They call us Afro-Indians or CDs in India, Afro-Pakistanis, Afro-Americans. These are bywords, they call us. Okay, so the remembrance of who we truly are has been forgotten. So the Lord's prophecy has come to pass. That's why I don't entertain people that say, how do you know the Bible's true? Didn't we just read about slavery in Deuteronomy 28? Did that come to pass? That's yes or no. Did that come to pass? Yes, the answer is yes. The Bible says we would lose our identity. Did we lose our identity? You could put 10 or 5 black people in a room together and ask them, what's your nationality? You'll get 5 or 10 stupid, dumb answers, different answers, because we don't know who we are. God's telling us we're the Israelites. No, I'm Kemet. No, I'm Afro-American, African-American, me Jamaican man. I'm Haitian. You can't make this stuff up. I'm Muslim. I'm Muslim. I don't hit another dumb one. I'm Baptist. Oh, shut up. That ain't a nationality. Wow. From there, let's go to Psalms 83. So one of the main ways the Lord caused us to forget who we are is by him using the nations that hate us. Psalms 83, let's start at verse 2. It reads, for lo, thine enemies, the enemies of God, make a tumult. A tumult is a noisome gathering. And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They've lifted up their head in society as rulers of society. Verse 3, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Crafty counsel begins with slavery. All nations had a hand in it. All nations took part in it. Let's read on. And consulted against thy hidden ones. Why are we called the hidden ones here? Because who we are has been hidden in the earth. Verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Do we even remember Israel? We've gone certain places and taught, and people have never heard of an Israelite. You can't make this stuff up. So let's read that again, verse 4. The nation did what the nation said. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. We don't remember who we are. Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The nations consulted together with one consent. All nations have been confederate against us. God gives a list of nations now in verse 6. The tabernacles of Edom, that's the Caucasian white man and woman, and the Ishmaelites, that's the Arabs. That's who we're talking about today.
Attention Israel.
Shoutout Tuesday will no longer be hosted on YouTube. For all future viewing, go over to and subscribe to IUIC TV. And remember, stay in the spirit. Shalom, most high in Christ bless.